And welcome back to the channel, everybody. Welcome back to a new video. And today I thought I would answer a question that I've been getting a lot lately, which is what happens if Stellantis and Dodge goes bankrupt? What happens to all of our warranties? What happens to our cars? Are we screwed? Are we living the Fisker life? All those poor Fisker people who bought those EVs are now driving around with no warranties, and there's weird, ways of them getting updates and other companies taking over and buying parts of what's left of the company and trying to patch together some way of making sure these people don't have these, 30, 40, 50, $70,000 bricked vehicles in their driveway. And I get that. Nobody wants to be on the other end of a bankruptcy and own a car that suddenly has no warranty. So I wanted to do this video just to help everyone understand that from a layman's perspective, just a guy that digs into business, been in business a long time, at the very least has some basic understanding and also the ability to do some Googling and digging up some information, maybe I can help you sleep at night, because all the drama surrounding Stellantis and Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, and Ram certainly would lead to, like every single one of us, thinking, well, the end result is they're done, they're over. Because we are looking for, as consumers owning these cars, or shareholders are looking for, is one simple thing: certainty of outcome. And we look for that in every aspect of our lives. Whether it's deciding with our spouse where we're going to dinner on Friday night, or picking a car, or finding a doctor, or getting a prognosis on what's wrong with us when we're not feeling well, we go straight to, am I going to live with the doctor? We go straight to, is with Dodge and them, are we going to have a warranty? We go to the nth degree with a restaurant on a Friday night. My wife and I talk about going to this new restaurant in town every weekend. And every weekend we decide, you know what? Let's go to the place we know, like, and trust. And we have absolute certainty of outcome. So in this case, we're all looking for that. We're thinking, why would we buy something, or why would we keep something if we're just going to end up with no warranty, especially something that so far has been proven to be not the highest quality product in the last couple of years? Not that Dodge was ever like the pillar of quality, but compared to today, to recently, to Demon 170 engines blowing, to my interior on my Scat Pack peeling apart, to all kinds of other quality issues, massive recalls, everything else, well, what's going to happen if I own one of these things? Well, I understand that. And as a shareholder, you can be thinking, well, maybe it's time to get out. And then panic strikes and everybody tries to bail on a company. Well, I wanted to share with you some numbers and some reasons why I think that right now we're good. I think it'll be a long time before they would go belly up. With that said, I think we should all recognize that there is the chance, because based on the mathematics, things could escalate. At a company this large, they can escalate very rapidly, and the cash burn can go up significantly and extremely to create a situation where, yeah, maybe they would have to go bankrupt. But I'll tell you still why I don't think it's an issue. Let's talk about the mathematics. Got here on my phone, so I'm going to read them off to you. Stellantis, and I'm just going off of the numbers they have that are finalized, clear numbers, which were the end of 2023. Now, certainly 2024, I don't think they've lost 50% of their profit, but I don't think they went negative where they're burning cash yet. But they're burning cash that they were getting, but they're not burning their assets yet. They're not burning their cash reserves yet. But that could easily happen, and I would not be surprised if it didn't happen sooner than later, like maybe by the end of next year when they launch all these EV things, and then they give us a million excuses why they can't roll out the twin turbo i6 and the Chargers, and then when they do, they have lackluster sales, or the dealers do something to screw up the sales by adding markups and addendums and all kinds of crap that would limit the amount of people that buy them, even though they don't understand that. They're trying to make more off of less rather than less off of more, which creates a situation where everybody wins, the dealer wins, and the manufacturer wins, because they can keep making cars. But when the dealers mark up the cars and they sell less cars for more money, the manufacturer suffers, and the dealer wins because dummies were willing to pay that money, but the manufacturer doesn't need to make as many cars, and inventory ends up sitting. So that all these really weird things that Dodge has been doing, and Chrysler, Jeep, and Ram, and Stellantis could lead to some peril. But let's talk about the mathematics here. Their total liabilities, the total liabilities for last quarter were $84.381 billion. So let's think of liabilities like your bills. Every month you've got to pay these bills. You've got that many bills coming in. So that's pretty significant. The total long-term debt was they're sitting on about $30 billion in debt. Their debt to equity ratio is 0.3342. Now, all you got to do is Google what's a dangerous debt to equity ratio, and you start getting to 1.0, it's a little bit scary. At 2.0, it's peril. I mean, run like hell. So they're really in a great position because they are sitting on just under $50 billion in cash sitting in their bank. So that gives them a lot of cushion to make some mistakes. With that said, when you're talking about the total liabilities for a year, when we're looking at $84.381 billion for the quarter ending June 30th, 2024, that's a lot of money to be burning. That if they were to dip down with their sales enough, they could start losing money. But it would take a lot for them to lose a lot. So I think they could certainly get to a place where they're losing $1 billion or $2 billion a year, and you better believe they're going to correct that rapidly. But let's talk about their net income at $18.6 billion. So net income, let's call that like their profit. So at $18.6 billion, that's what they would have to screw up so bad and erase. Now remember, in 2023, things were really good. Even the first quarter of 2024 were good. So I would say they're probably close to screwing up that $18 billion in net income. So they could end up in a serious negative cash flow situation. Total assets, $202.1 billion, which is why I tell you that they're not going anywhere. But let's talk about assets. What are assets for a giant publicly traded company? Well, it's all their stuff. So all their buildings that they own, all the equipment that they own, all the electronics, everything that they own. But I also would say that an asset would fall under their brands. These are assets. While we see them as things we like to drive around and enjoy, Dodge as a brand is an asset and has a value that is significant. That value transcends the stuff, meaning somebody could buy that brand and slap that brand on something, and that something would be worth more money than it would if it didn't have the brand, is the belief. The problem is they've done that now with the Dodge Hornet. They've slapped a Dodge emblem on a Alfa Romeo, and nobody wanted to buy it. So the brand equity is diminishing. It's falling. And what they're doing single-handedly is destroying these brands. But the good news is that they could never destroy these brands so much that they wouldn't have a significant inherent value to someone who wanted to run it right and rebuild that brand. And after the last 100 years, it's happened over and over again. And I can promise you it would happen again, because we'll talk about this in a second. Let's talk about total equity, $82.1 billion. But let's talk about the debt of, currently have a debt of $32 billion. So they could pay off their debt tomorrow if they wanted to, but it's long-term debt, so they're just paying the interest on it. So would they file bankruptcy? Well, let's talk about how that would have to happen. Well, they could file bankruptcy and just jettison certain corporations, but when you think about this, when you show up to bankruptcy court and say, look, I want to do a full-on liquidation like Fisker did. Well, Fisker didn't have a brand that could be sold off and have any value. Nobody would want it. Nobody could take it. As a matter of fact, it had negative value because it was the second time that brand went belly up. So they couldn't just take that brand and sell it off to another Stellantis. Stellantis put that brand on something. People would not want to touch it. It's a toxic brand. It's damaged goods. But Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, and Ram all have brand value, meaning that long before they could bankrupt those companies, meaning a full liquidation bankruptcy, they would just simply have to do a reorganization, or they would have to sell that brand, put that brand up for sale, and someone would buy it. If they did a liquidation, someone would come in and buy that brand. We've seen that happen with other companies. We even had threats of that happening with Fisker before, that some angel was going to come in and buy it because it was such a great company and they were going to save it from itself. That wouldn't happen, and we all, I think most of us knew that was not going to happen with Fisker, because they could slap that brand. Anything they slap that brand on would go out of business, because nobody's going to take that chance with Fisker again, regardless of who owned it. But with Dodge, all it would take would be a new owner. All it would take would be a new company, new giant hedge fund, or somebody who bought that thing out of liquidation, out of bankruptcy, and said, we're going to take it over and get it for pennies on the dollar, because it still has value. It's not worth less. It's absolutely worth something. So the fact that it has value, Jeep and Ram and Chrysler, they all have value, means that there's no real way I believe they could go bankrupt and completely evaporate off the planet like Fisker did, because the brand equity is way too strong. Even though Stellantis is destroying it, they're killing the ultimate sales price of it, because there will be liabilities attached to it. But in a liquidation bankruptcy, there's a pretty clean way for them to escape owning it and it sell. But why would they do that? Why would they do that when they have so much brand equity that they could simply just let the ego go and sell those brands off to someone who would take good care of them? And trust me when I tell you, if it was open on the market that they need to sell, it would never make it to the market. They would simply make 2 or 3 phone calls and they would have someone buy it. Whether it be GM, Tesla could buy it. I mean, hell, BlackRock could buy it. I mean, anybody could buy it and revive that company and make it great for a while, and at the very least, keep it alive, and they would have to honor the warranties. So here's how the warranties work. The company has to warranty the cars. They have to provide parts and service for cars through their warranty period. So for the last car that Dodge would sell, they would have to continue to make parts for those cars, continue to service those cars for the term of the warranty. Let's say it's 3 years, 36 months. The last car that goes off the line that gets sold to a customer, they would need to be able to service that car and provide parts for it. But if it went bankrupt, they wouldn't have to. But I'll tell you, if somebody bought it, somebody took it over, they would have to honor those warranties as part of the deal, which is why people were begging that Fisker would be taken over, that somebody would parachute in and save the day and take on. Because when you take on all the assets, you also got to take on a lot of those liabilities, which for sure is the warranty liabilities that come along with that. And no question, Dodge or Stellantis would simply more so opt for a restructuring. So if it did get that bad and Stellantis had to go bankrupt, Stellantis could go bankrupt, sell off the brands, and then jettison Stellantis into the stratosphere at some point and let the brands go off on their own. That could happen. But Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, and Ram, and even Alfa Romeo and Citroën and all these European brands, they have enough value in their strong enough assets that those could be sold. And based on Stellantis' $200+ million in assets, they would get sold, and Stellantis would be able to cash out and move on at some point. So I don't think anybody has anything to worry about. As much as I'd like to say, oh yeah, they're going down, and we are screwed, blued, and tattooed. We're not going to have any warranties anymore, everybody. We might as well sell our Dodges because they're going to be gone. The numbers are so enormous, and the value of these companies are so strong, and the equity in these companies are so massive that I don't think any of us have anything to worry about, because someone would take those things over and have to honor those warranties, keep on. The problem we have is locally. So on a micro level, in our neighborhoods, where our local Dodge dealership that services our car is where we take it all the time for the warranty work. Those dealerships are definitely going belly up, and they're going belly up more and more every single day. And if your local Dodge dealership goes out of business, you're relegated to going further away to get your car fixed, and further away to get your car fixed. And then as another dealership goes out of business pretty soon, it's like owning an exotic car that, let's say a Ferrari in St. Jacob, Illinois, shout out to my friend Chris, is if you want to go to a Ferrari dealership, you've got a very, very long trip on a flatbed, potentially to a whole nother state to get that warranty or to get that car repaired at that dealership. So those issues I think we would have to deal with over time as dealerships belly up and we end up being serviced by less dealers in our market area. And depending on where you live, if you're out in, rural Missouri somewhere, there's a chance that your local Dodge dealership doesn't make it through this, and now you're having to head to the next biggest city 2 hours away to get your car fixed. That could happen. So with that said, everything I said here could be total hogwash and BS, and I could have had it wrong. Because I am no economist, I am not a financial genius or a guru of any kind. I'm simply a guy that does a YouTube channel that shares with you the rudimentary, elementary level of business that I understand and know, and just this is an opinion and nothing more. I don't think we have anything to worry about when it comes to our warranties. I do think Stellantis is going to head to ending up in the red, and I think if they continue down this dangerous path, they will have to spin things off. They will be forced to spin things off because there's value there. So with that, everybody, please like, subscribe, comment, share this video. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and if you think I'm totally wrong, that's cool. Let me know. Yeah, they could totally belly up. They could not be able to pay their debt. I mean, go to zero sales and within 1 year be bankrupt and full liquidation. But I promise you this much. I'll be at the courthouse waiting to see if I could buy Dodge for $87. I mean, and I'll tell you, I'll get outbid by thousands of other giant companies out there saying, yeah, I can make some money with this. And all I got to do, let me see, what's the recipe? Bring back the Hemi, bring back some super cheap cars, bring back some low-end cars and some high-end cars. Let's make some Halo cars. And what a weird thing, man. We can go make ourselves hundreds of millions of dollars every single year, and then they will do it. Bye, everybody. See you in the next one. Bye-bye.